if you're under the influence of alcohol or spirits, as we call them, then your intelligence and your kind of like conscious faculty is numbed, and you're more susceptible to possession by subtle beings.
It said that, when you take intoxicants, you break down the subtle body.
Yeah.
So you get holes in the subtle body, so you're more open to being possessed.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
Welcome back. Another episode of For Soul's Sake, another week, another opportunity for us to dive into a spiritual topic. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Radhika, and today I'm joined with my two lovely co-hosts, Keli Woods.
What's up?
And Nāma.
Hello.
We are today discussing an interesting topic. As always, we are discussing something from the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual text. Today is all about ghosts, people.
Ooh.
It's going to get creepy.
Casper. You remember Casper?
I do remember Casper.
Friendly
Whatever happened to Casper?
He was a legend, no?
He was legend, man.
Is he still
Friendly
rolling,
ghost.
or is he?
He was so cute.
Yeah,
Nah,
he's been killed off.
How'd you kill off Casper though?
That's
can you even
that's
do
the
that?
joke.
Casper got killed
That's the
off.
joke, Keli Woods.
Hey. Okay.
Anyway, we've got a verse of the Gita. Where is it? It's chapter 9, text number 25. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Quoted Krishna. Do you want to go and who would want to live with ghosts? That's the question, first and foremost. Is there such a thing as a ghost?
Well,
Obviously, because the scripture talks about it.
I
But
mean, this is a fun
what is a
topic.
ghost? Let's start there. What is a ghost?
But according to the Gita and according to like Vedic science, a ghost isn't as scary as it seems when you understand what it actually is.
I hope it's not subjective according to your opinion. Let's see.
Well, let me just break it down, right? So, and we all know this. Let's just share it for the audience.
Yeah.
Our identity is made up of 3 levels. We've got the physical body, the blood, pus, guts, and
Cuss.
blood, crusts, and the crusts.
The pus,
blood,
the guts,
pus,
the
guts,
guts,
and
The crusts and the bus.
all the good stuff.
crusts.
Crusts.
I don't want to get into
I'm
that.
feeling the crusts today, I tell you.
Crusty feet.
Crusty.
That included.
All right.
Actually, sorry. The body
Yeah,
is gross.
it is gross. It is totally.
Yeah,
Come
alright.
on, man. It's gross. It
Not
stinks.
that gross. Okay, yeah.
It stinks.
It is. It is. Funny that we're so attracted to the body, though, isn't
Think about like the beauty industry
it? Yeah.
makes so much money.
Yeah, just to
Why?
cover up.
Yeah, to cover it
Cover
up.
up the gross.
Yeah.
Cover up the crust.
Anyway, sorry. Carry
Cover
on.
up the pimples. That's what it is.
Carry on.
Anyway, pimples and all. Got the physical body.
Yeah.
But then we've got what is known as the subtle body, which
Mhm.
is our mind, intelligence, and false ego, or the sense of self, the sense of identity, right?
So what's the difference between mind and intelligence just before we...
So as Krishna says in the Gita, the mind essentially makes a yes or no decision.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes decisions. But that decision is fueled by the intelligence. The
Yep.
intelligence is fueled by knowledge, experience, wisdom that will enable us to say yes or no at a particular decision, which is the mind.
So the mind decides pizza or pasta, and the intelligence informs that decision with the pizza will be like that, the pasta will be like that.
Yes.
Okay, now inform.
Correct. So that's like the horses and the reins of a horse. The horses are like the senses. We'll just pick at anything and say yes or no. But the reins are the mind, which can rein a sense back or forth. And the driver is the intelligence.
Beautiful.
Direct
Good
where
example.
it want it to be.
Beautiful. Isn't it? He's too good. This guy.
Genius.
Too
I
good.
mean, it's just all Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, so that's the subtle body. And then,
Wait, hold on. You didn't talk about the false ego. Because people
It's
know
a
about
se-
ego,
Yeah.
but false ego is something that's always in the Bhagavad Gita.
Mhm.
And
Let's-
it's false ego because it's your false sense of identity.
Right.
It's
And
how
what-
you identify yourself in the sense of name, fame, status, culture, creed, race, religion, background, all of those things. So it's a
That's
false.
false.
Yes, it's our perception of our false identity. But then it says that the Atma, the soul, is the life force that exists within that, which gives everything life.
Mm.
Right? And that's the truest identity. But then what happens is when we die, the physical body decomposes and its time is over.
The
just
crust
like
is finished.
used clothes and old aged ragged clothes need to be put away and thrown in the bin and new clothes bought. The physical body deteriorates. But the physical body's gone, but the subtle body and the soul still exist. In that form, that is known as what we know it as a ghost.
Mm.
As a ghost. There's still identity, there is still desire, there is still a living entity, but there is no physical body to act out those desires.
Mm.
I used to often question, like, why are ghosts always angry?
Mm.
They're always causing a lot of ruckus and always haunting people
Or they're
and places.
they're perceived as that.
Perceived to be,
Yeah.
right? Perceived to be
Yeah.
like that. Why is that? And someone interestingly told me, he said, well, if you were really hungry, but you never had a physical stomach to actually digest or taste any food,
Mm.
how would
Scandalous.
that make you feel?
I'm a hungry person if I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So
Because the desire just reaps, but no physical body to fully actually do something. So what would you do
Mm.
if you saw someone who had a physical body through which you could enjoy?
Yeah. There's a nice take on like kind of gaining insight into the personality of the soul. Like you said, the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego. So the ego's still there actually.
Yeah.
I have a friend who can see subtle beings
Wow.
and communicate with them very clearly.
wow, that would
And-
just be sitting in a room and be like, hey Sally.
Yeah, just come and sit on the sofa next to you, right?
Sally.
Hey, Sally.
I see you. I see dead people.
Myself and my partner are in a phase of going to visit like old historical buildings in London and stuff, like just to learn about the history and so we asked our friend who could see these subtle beings, oh, have you been to, I don't know, Osterley or Ham House or these places that are being preserved? And they said, yeah, and something interesting happens. Sometimes these ghosts or these subtle beings, they play the parts of the historical figures that are there. Like, you know, say you go to somewhere where Henry V used to live or something.
Yeah.
And the ghosts are like, they pretend to be that figure, and even they can possess like portraits and different things. And she says sometimes she goes around these historical buildings and she sees a ghost in one of the portraits, like pretending to be, you know, one of these historical figures. And
Right.
still, like the ego's trying to
They
get
want to be
away with-
acknowledged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to be acknowledged. They want to be seen as someone prominent. And, you know, so in that way, it's actually a bit funny that, you know, these subtle beings are trying to play some part that they're not, just for some fame and some name, you know?
Yeah.
So-
And how does one become a ghost? According to the scripture, it talks about one who prematurely leaves the material body, for example, through the means of suicide, through the means of
It's unexpected death,
being killed
death.
before their time. I mean, we're kind of just building the foundation here, but also then how do we understand, according to the scripture, that ghosts are attracted? Like, I know that we probably all know, but for the benefit of everybody, just so that we're all on the same level playing field, Vedically speaking.
There's also like the third bit. So
Oh, yeah, go on.
you mentioned about untimely death,
Yep.
suicide, and the third one is this is very interesting. The appropriate spiritual rites were not executed well enough,
Right. To release.
to allow the soul to exit
Right.
the subtle body, or the subtle body and the soul to pass over to the next life.
Still attached to that body.
Still such bodily attachment, which is why in the Vedic practices we cremate the body to accelerate the process of detaching from the body,
Yeah.
moving on to the next
Yeah.
life. Which is why, arguably so, you generally see a lot of ghostly experiences are happening at graveyards because the bodies still are there, and therefore the subtle
Attachment.
bodies still want to be, like you're saying, Keli, right? Like still want to be that person, still want to be that individual and have that status and relationship and power. But unfortunately, there's no moving on.
How are they attracted? Like, what makes ghosts appear? And
Well,
like it said that according to what I understand, for each person, there's like 10 ghosts or something like that. Is that have you heard that kind of thing before?
I've heard that.
Something like that. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I've heard
scriptural,
that.
but there's a lot of them. They're everywhere.
yeah. I mean, even in this room, there are subtle beings.
Yeah.
But not to be feared. I think that's the angle that we're going for.
I think if you understand that, we on this podcast we talk a lot about identity, right? But again, that identity still exists in a subtle form. So if we can acknowledge that, and this idea of fear comes from ignorance, right? We're scared of that which we do not understand. So by studying and understanding a little more about the subtle body, then the fear aspect is taken away. But I've heard different things about anything we might do that is perhaps activating that subtle platform, even like ethereal noises like whistling, these kind of things, they can attract and they can also repel. We hear like kirtan and chanting of mantra is a very good way of clearing subtle space. And I think it's a cool thing. In temples they ring these bells, and that's meant to pierce the ether and kind of like it's meant to clear that space for subtle beings, so something divine can manifest. But
do you want to hear a mad story?
I mean, I don't think we have a choice, but yeah, go on.
You do have a choice.
Oh, no.
I mean,
We're going to chant some mantras and ring some bells after this, though, I'll tell you that much.
We're probably going to need to. But,
oh, Lord.
Kid you not, right? And I don't tell this story to many people. Okay.
The camera's going to zoom in on your face very, very slowly as you tell the story.
So, I used to be a monk at a temple in Watford, Bhaktivedanta Manor, which before being a temple was a training ground for nurses in World War II.
wow, I never knew that.
Oh, really?
It's called
That's
Piggott's house. Piggott's Manor?
Piggott's Manor, yeah.
Piggott's Manor.
Wow.
And it was a training ground for nurses in World War II. So many soldiers injured, long-term injuries would go there, and the nurses would take care of the soldiers. As you can imagine, many soldiers died in that space. And could be quite horrific deaths, sudden deaths, who knows. Statistically, you can make the conclusion there's probably a lot of subtle entities in and around that space.
Yeah.
So when I joined the ashram there in the main building, people had told me like, oh yeah, there are ghosts around here. I was like, yeah, it's cool. And the theatre room is apparently the most haunted place, right? Anyway, all good. I'm cracking all my days. Maybe like a year or two passes, and people used to tell me, go to sleep early, but not too early.
Oh.
Right? I was like, what? Not too early. Go to sleep when you're really, really tired. I was like, okay, fine. I don't really understand that. It was just a bit of a random piece of advice. One day I was feeling particularly tired. My physical body was just really like run down. So about, I think 7:30, 8 p.m, I just put my sleeping bag down. I was like, I'm ready to take a kip. I sleep. And then I'm sleeping, but I'm awake. Eventually, I understood this to be a state of sleep paralysis. I don't know if you've experienced this before. Sleep paralysis, where the physical body shut down, but your mind is still awake. Your consciousness is still awake. The most scariest thing I've ever been in, because you feel quite genuinely, I'm trapped in my body. I can't move anything. I can't open my eyes. I can't speak.
Yeah.
So I'm just existing in this subtle realm, the subtle body and the soul, basically just having a good time, but no physical body to do anything. And I feel trapped. And I'm like, damn. And because my physical frequency shut down, the only things I'm now sensing are things on the subtle frequencies. I start to hear things around me.
Shut up.
I swear to you. I hear something go around my head this way. I'm bricking it, thinking, what? And I'm just thinking, is this a figure of my mind? Is this my imagination? Am I just having a dream here? I was fully awake. I just could not control the body. I start chanting mantras because I'm a bit scared, to be quite honest. I start chanting mantras. You know what happens? No word of a lie. These ghosts or subtle entities start chanting and mocking me back.
Wow.
Start mocking me by chanting back at me. And they're like, Hare Krishna, and going this way. And I'm just like, yo, please, like, I need to get to sleep. Go, like, I need to roll. This is too much. Anyway, time passes. They go out. Then I somehow manage to start speaking, open my eyes and force myself awake, thinking, no, what the hell is going on? And then I spoke to some senior monks about it the next day, and they said, I can imagine that because the ghosts around the temple here have heard the mantras being chanted for so many years. They're actually very used to it. A friend of mine just thought I was BSing the whole thing. Thought, nah. 1 week later, experiences pretty much the same thing. Wow. Absolutely breaking it. So I just, and believe me or don't believe me, I know what I experienced, and that's for me to know. But it's just such a fascinating thing. I think we spoke about this last time. You can choose to be ignorant of genuine experiences in your life, or you can try and embrace it and try to see maybe my belief system needs to be challenged here a bit.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you for a ghost story now.
Yeah, I've got.
By the way, that makes me terrified of like going to the manor and sleeping there now.
Nah, it's all right. Like, they're just friendly. It's like Casper, like. It's just like, but Keli said the same thing, right? Now this is like, whether the listeners actually really see this or not, but when you understand what it is, it really removes the fear.
Yeah.
It's just an individual who's frustrated because they've got no physical body to act out their desires.
Yeah.
And you get frustrated over time. And it's said in the Gita that actually it's a burning of karma for the souls. There's unburnt karma because they've died before their destined time, and therefore there's karma still to be burnt through that period.
Yeah, I mean, in complete honesty, it's not fear. I'm just building a compassion for those living entities in my heart. Like, as you're speaking, I'm just like praying. I'm like, may they be at peace, may they be happy. When we say this verse, in the yoga world, we say loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That includes all subtle beings as well, like may they be happy, may they be peaceful. And
but it is scary because
of course,
we're not used to perceiving things in the subtle realm.
Yeah.
Majority of us, at least.
Yeah.
You had an experience like that, mate?
I've had one. There's one terrifying experience I had, and everything else has just been like, it's neither here nor there.
I feel like Hannah's going to add some eerie music to both your stories. Our editor.
But this was a bit of a mad one, and it kind of demonstrates how subtle beings can influence those in gross bodies as well. So my experience was, I was also a monk, and I was on a mission to drive the temple harmonium, the instrument we used to chant kirtan with, from Cardiff to a music store in London. But it was quite a long journey, and we wanted to stop on the way. So I booked an Airbnb in Gloucestershire, right? Quite out of the way, cheap Airbnb for the night. It was Halloween night. We arrive at 8 p.m. I was driving. There were 2 other monks with me. So we get to the Airbnb, and there's a party, like a Halloween party going on. There's like 4 or 5 adults and then loads of children running around in costumes. It was fairly like innocent, right? And we were just thinking, we have to wake up early in the morning. I hope this party's going to kind of die down so that we can sleep. And so they said, yeah, it should be fine. We're going to finish up in an hour or so. Let me show you to your rooms, the Airbnb host. So we weren't in this really nice house. where the party was going on, they were like, we're going to put you in the old house. And so this is in Gloucestershire, like kind of quite remote, big like farmland nearby. So we go into this place, really dark place, immediately like spooky. And I was like, this is so weird. It's Halloween. And I'm like in this spooky place, like what's going on? Anyway, we get shown to our rooms. The 2 monks that are with me are on the 2nd floor in a bedroom, and they put me in the attic room.
By yourself?
By myself. Dusty place, right? Man. And it's like one of those classic like starts to a horror film, and I sit on this old bed, and it has this like kind of squeaky vibe to it, and I'm looking around and seeing all these pictures, like these dusty pictures of old people, like family members and stuff, and I was like, this is just weird. Anyway, I start settling down, and I feel there's like a negative presence in the room so strongly, like I've never felt before. And so I'm just trying to calm myself down, and all of a sudden I hear screaming and fighting coming from downstairs. I'm like, what is going on? So I lock the door, fully like there's a fight erupting. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, eventually it kind of calms down. I open the door and go downstairs. And what had happened is a drunk man had come into the house and was requesting like money or something from the Airbnb hosts, but he thought that the monks we were with were the Airbnb hosts, so he'd broken into that room and started fighting the monks that we were with.
No.
And it was like we had to call the police, and it was a whole thing, right? And anyway, we got out of there because the whole place was spooky, and it felt like this man was almost like possessed in some way. And then I was doing some research the day after, and I was researching if there's any connection between drinking alcohol and subtle beings. And there was an interesting article just entitled Spirits, right? And they no joke, this article was making the point that if you're under the influence of alcohol or spirits, as we call them, then your intelligence and your kind of like conscious faculty is numbed, and you're more susceptible to possession by subtle beings. And so we all agreed like that night something had happened with that man, because he wasn't just being drunk and happy, he was on a different thing. And the whole vibe of the place just felt wrong. It was just like so weird. So that was an experience that really stood out to me. And since then I'm always trying to do something positive on a Halloween night, because I don't want to relive that.
We'll do a Halloween special Kirtan now.
It's said that when you take intoxicants, you break down the subtle body. So you get holes in the subtle body, so you're more more open to being possessed.
Even the vital energy, I've understood that if you express, I mean, we're talking about intercourse and sex, and if you've expelled that vital energy from the body, then it's also understood that actually you're more susceptible to being preyed upon by subtle energies. So keep that semen inside, people.
That's the takeaway message from this podcast.
Well,
but effectively that's what procreation is. That's the time when a soul is going to enter the body, so that's a perfect opportunity, no? But I am interested in this verse again, just to bring it back, because
let's go back.
We're talking about those who worship ghosts, go to the ghosts. Those who worship the demigods, go to the demigods. So that's quite interesting. I wonder why you would want to worship ghosts first, like what's the benefit there? But also there must be something that happens in the subtle body for you to like, that determines your next destination. Is that correct? How does that work?
I mean, it's just a case of understanding that we are here based on our desire,
right?
Like, I guess we have to come to that point, like why have I come in this particular form, this body, this relationships with the family that I currently have, and it's all karmically in one sense determined based on your desire. And so we have to be really careful of our desires and just note them, because at the time of death, when that subtle body is being removed from the physical body, at that time, which is the most crucial point spiritually speaking in terms of the transition of where you're going next, we have to try and, according to the Bhakti scriptures, we have to try and fix our consciousness when, the body is filled with mucus and bile, and the sensation is described as being pinched by, scorpions, and it's so difficult to fix the mind in that moment, the intelligence in that moment. If we can just fix the mind and intelligence upon ultimately God, ultimately divinity, then our next destination is determined as being also that. And so people will say like, okay, yeah, I'll get to that when I get to death. But I think that from our perspective, we should think about the practice which leads to that, because it's like fail to prepare to fail.
Sure.
And so I guess a spiritual perspective is, if we feel at all scared about the possibility of ghosts is one thing, but not receiving a spiritual body in the next life, then start practicing now, people.
I just wanted to add one short
please.
thing about in a pilgrimage. There's a pilgrimage place in India known as Vrindavan, and there was once this great saintly person. I think his name was Sanatan Goswami. He lived there, and there's a story about how he had some disease of the skin, and he had these open wounds on his skin. And this is a bit of a gross story. I'm sorry if you're eating dinner right now.
Yeah, maybe put the spoon down.
Yeah, maybe just for now. But it's said that his open wounds were so bad that like worms and bugs started to like eat the flesh of his skin, and one like maggot fell out of one of these wounds, and he picked it up and put it back, and he said, "This body is more your home than mine."
Wow.
That's how detached he was from the body. He's like, I'm not the body, I'm not even the subtle body, I know I'm the soul, so this body's more yours than it will ever be mine. That's a next level, man.
Don't know if I'll ever get to that.
That's epic.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, one practice that I've done from, well, quite young on in my spiritual journey is that when I wake up, the first thing I do is I slam myself to the ground and I pray that may this body be used in spiritual service. And it's still something I do today. Like, it's weird, like people that don't know me, when I wake up, I like bow down and like, what are you bowing down to? I'm just like, I'm praying. First thing I want to do when I wake up in the morning is pray that may this body be used for service. And in that way, I'll slowly become detached from it. Slowly, it's like a slow process to become detached from the body. But yeah. What destination do you want? We have to ask ourselves a question, sit with it regularly in solitude. What do I do for eternity? What is going to be my eternal state? And how can I reach it? Because we've got, like, if you're listening to this right now, we've got a golden opportunity. This opportunity is so short, and we've got all facility to use it for either another life, another body in the material world, or maybe something incredible and great. So, one of my teachers, Bhakti Charu Swami, he says, just give this one life to Krishna. And at the end of it, maybe there is no such thing as a Krishna. Maybe there isn't. I don't know if I have the faith yet to fully believe in a person called Krishna. But let me tell you, the journey is going to be an incredible one along the way, and you'll meet a lot of kind people and loving people. So, make your choice. What do you want this life to be about? What do you do for eternity? That's a question. You can think about it.
Just a small question.
Just a small one.
Yeah, just an easy weekend reflections.
Ghosts and eternal life. It's been an interesting conversation. On that note, thank you all so much for listening to this conversation. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your attention. I hope it's been fun. I hope you found those spooky stories at least entertaining. But see you on the next episode, for soul's sake. Thank you so much on behalf of Keli and Nāma, and see you on the next one. Peace.
If you love this episode, you'll love my interview with Keshiva Swami on serving others and how our life gets ironed out in the process. Go check it out.
When I have managed to find that selflessness, that sense of it's really not about me, but I'm really here as a servant to give, then I found two things happen. The first thing is that our ability to actually really serve others just expands exponentially.